Besides the chief, the key to breaking the deadlock lies with two important figures. One is Nanami, and the other is Ishmael. Both of them have reached the world beyond the gate and become high-dimensional beings. Yes, the concept of high-dimensional beings is only being introduced in this video for easier understanding, which might feel a bit like Deus Ex Machina. But trust me, they have already had plenty of screen time and foreshadowing in the game before this. There's also a supplementary setting here. The punishing virus and chaos pollution are actually mnemonic weapons deployed by the high-dimensional civilization beyond the gate onto lower civilizations. How about that? Pretty heavy, right? If a Day 1 player time traveled to this video, they would definitely sigh and wonder how the game turned into this. Let me still use an analogy to help everyone understand. Imagine Earth civilization as a small village, and the high-dimensional civilization as the heavenly court. Whenever a village on the ground develops to a certain level, the heavenly court would cast a heavenly tribulation to test it. That is the punishing virus. If the village successfully survives the tribulation, it qualifies to join the heavenly court and stands as an equal high-risk civilization. But if it fails, it gets completely destroyed, meaning the civilization is harvested by punishing. Nanami is like a villager from Earth who, through personal effort, ascended to the heavenly court and became an immortal. Ishmael is a survivor from another village that was destroyed by the heavenly court, who also became an immortal through his own efforts. So although both of them are in the heavenly court, they hold grudges against it and have been secretly helping Earth Village in various ways. How about it? Is my explanation clear? Of course, this analogy is just my personal simplified summary and is not entirely rigorous. For example, why the high-dimensional civilization does all this, and their true motives behind it still need to be answered by future story chapters. Anyway, as far as the outcome is concerned, the immortal Nanami has repeatedly altered the course of human history and helped you establish antivirus zones, sounding the horn of counterattack. As for the immortal Ishmael, he had remained relatively neutral before, but after seeing the protagonist pull off the impossible ending of successfully exiting the tower, he exclaimed, "Holy shit!" and gave the Commandant a trial, allowing you to also become a high-dimensional observer. But just observing isn't enough. Our time machine still can't be used. At this point, Ishmael suggests, look, how about you do what I did? First, seal away the destroyed civilization, then the two of us high-dimensional beings can live together, wandering the universe for trillions of years, slowly figuring out how to revive civilization. Trust in the wisdom of future generations. The chief replies, "Damn, so you actually want to elope with me? But I refuse. I'm going to fight for humanity until the very last moment." So the current main story has become how to find the most suitable historical node without alerting the high-dimensional beings, go back alone, and reverse everything. And you actually found the answer, the Sea Commandant, whom no one cared about. The direct reason the time machine cannot be used in the current history is that the incomplete little chaos, fused with Sea Commandant, lacked sufficient power to suppress the number 0 proxy, resulting in the destruction of the time machine. So now, if we change it so that the Commandant himself participates in the fusion to create a complete little chaos, wouldn't that allow us to crush the number 0 proxy and quickly take control of the time machine? Therefore, as a high-dimensional being, Ishmael assists the chief by projecting his consciousness onto the dying Sea Commandant at the end of the Cradle Parade storyline. There's also a clever twist here. Remember the earlier foreshadowing about whether Sea Commandant was really just a clone? The answer is, his consciousness was never a copy. From the very beginning, it was the projection of the high-dimensional chief onto that timeline. So what happened here is better described as the chief himself unsealing his own memories rather than possessing a clone body. In short, because Sea Commandant was originally destined to die at the bottom of the sea, replacing him at that point didn't change any events, successfully deceiving history. Holy Steins.gate! But due to the butterfly effect, this time the material, you, was more complete. The resulting little chaos was far more powerful. The complete body successfully dominated the number 0 proxy in the later tower brawl, thereby gaining full control of the Hetero Tower's time machine function and officially beginning the grand undertaking of world recreation. This is exactly the famous CG, where the player transforms from a gun-toting Special Forces soldier into a white-haired creator god. Because previously, everyone had been using the Hetero Tower for time travel every day, The causal relationships and timelines inside the tower had been stacked to an astronomical level. Any reckless change could cause the world to collapse. So the godlike protagonist, just like a miserable programmer cleaning up a trillion-year legacy code mess, kept pruning unnecessary human history across endless loops. He nearly broke down midway, but with the help of Nanami and Ishmael, the three gods returned to their positions. In the end, they successfully converged humanity's timeline and rewound it to a safe node. Before the Hetero Tower ever appeared, when you wake up again, you find yourself in the familiar Babylonia conference room. It feels like a lot has happened, yet also like you've forgotten a lot. But your body acts faster than your mind. You run through the base corridors, only wanting to reach that place. The Grey Raven Squad's lounge, to reunite with them. This long and turbulent timeline brawl has finally come to a temporary end. You successfully reversed an unsolvable dead save, resolved the Hetero Tower that had arrived prematurely due to timeline chaos. Humanity no longer has to face overpowered bosses like the Number Zero Proxy, Chaos Pollution, or the corrupted Red Tide, and only needs to focus on dealing with the punishing virus. Thinking about it, how is this still so hellish? Of course, for many players, this plot reset still feels quite exaggerated, directly rolling back to the time point of Chapter 20, Silent Sea, Strange Paths in 2022. Then some people would say, did I waste the past 2.5 years playing? Was the entire story just an alternate timeline? My understanding is that it wasn't a waste, and it wasn't simply rolling back the save. The many chapters from the arrival of the Hetero Tower to its no longer arriving can be seen as the beta timeline in Stein's Gate. Without this line, everyone's sacrifices and efforts would not have given birth to the new timeline that follows. The causal relationships behind some miracles are still essentially linear. This New Game Plus mainly fixes the bug of the Hetero Tower arriving too early. Other events that were supposed to happen will still happen, and the bonds that were meant to be formed will still be formed. Personally, I think the opening of this New Game Plus is still extremely brilliant and necessary. On one hand, it gives a phased conclusion to the big Hetero Tower arc, preventing too much timeline entanglement that might make the audience feel nihilistic. On the other hand, reenacting certain character arcs with completely different variables can also bring a fresh experience.